Hi everyone. This video shows making of the video of Cyclops and Jean. I would be summarizing the steps that I've gone through to make a video, methods that I've adopted, and iterations I've done to improve my video and produce the final version of my video. Our major task was to choose a character with a rich history and background who should again use a device, and that device should not have an interface already, and we were supposed to introduce an interface and design that interface for that user to complete his routine tasks. I came up with 3 devices which would fit the criteria mentioned in the previous slide, but the Cyclops was more interesting to me, and his visor was fancy, and he had and this device was wearable and it was head mounted display sort of thing, which was very interesting to me. And then I did a basic background of the device, how what does device do, how does the user as in Cyclops interacts with the device, and what type of device was it, like wearable or an accessory or something. So this was a basic study we did before choosing a character, and I ended up choosing Cyclops and his visor to control his optic blast. After choosing my character Cyclops, I had to do some deep research on it. So I thought of doing user task and environmental analysis. Now, user analysis, I first went through the biodata and as much as details I could gather about the user. And I had a rich collection of the information that would tell me a lot about the user. And then I also dug deeper and tried and figured out like 3 things that I wish I knew about my character as a user. I had enough information about the user now. I had to go into the task analysis now, and I tried and figured out how many and what are the different tasks that my user would perform using that device, and and then again I got into the details of the how that task would be performed step by step, what would be the interaction, how would be the interaction with the device, and what would be the different type of user interface screens. This was very initial and basic analysis, and it was not much documented. And finally, even I had to think about the environment my user is going to use and interact with this device. And I listed down some indoor environments and outdoor environments and the critical situation my user is going to use the device. Like Cyclops usually uses his device in the critical time of warfare, and the interface is supposed to be that helps him with such interaction. Task analysis actually gave me a lot of information about the device interaction and the design that I would be creating. But now I needed more user-centric analysis to be done. So I thought of performing Rolestorming, and again I practically put on a prototype sort of visor on me using my headphone and like household stuff I had, and then tried performing those tasks myself. And that was a good intel into what difficulty would the user face, how would he actually interact, how would he face a problem, how would he see through the head mounted display, and all those questions came into my mind, and then it pushed me to find and investigate more and gather more information on it. Another thing I wanted to gather information was about the device itself, So just to create interface for my device, I need to know device more, and that's where evaluation came into the picture. I I thought about where the user is wearing the device, or how is he interacting with it, what size is it, where is it gonna be on his body, and what sort of feedbacks would the device give if we interacted with that. Low fidelity prototype was one of the most interesting part of all assignment and video making procedure. This is when I actually started designing the interface and started thinking about actual device and the modes of interaction that Cyclops would perform using that visor. Now I uh, now it was all hand-drawn sketches and sticky notes and cardboards that I drew up on the paper to just demonstrate the various screens I would have in my user interface. And again, I thought of way of interacting with it. Now my device was a heads-up display, so it could not have direct input. So it was very obvious that I had to come up with an indirect input device, and I thought of choosing knob of visor, which is located on the ear of Cyclops' visor, as an input device. And then I thought of gestures like moving up and down, scrolling forward, backward, and the press, which would actually shoot the optic glass from Cyclops. It was time to move on to medium fidelity prototypes now, and I made one. Like previous prototype was just sketches on the paper. Now I had to make it interactive prototype. And for doing that, I chose two mediums. One is like very easy PowerPoint. Another one was Envision, which is web-based prototyping tool. Both of them seemed very powerful and helped me made my interface very interactive. So the yellow knobs you can see in the screen are the knobs of the visor, and the center portion is actually a screen. And I was able to implement all the functionality that's gonna be there in the video using this prototyping tool. And after doing this, I got more insights into how actually the transition of the screens would go, and how that was the major part actually I learned. User task and environment analysis gave me a rich info about the user, but still, we tend to forget tiny bit little details about the user, and that's where empathy maps helps us. So creating an empathy map gave me more information about how the user would feel, how would he react, and what what was he hearing in a particular situation, what was he seeing, how was he feeling, and what would be his needs. And I listed them down in a proper map. That gave me a next level of iteration for my medium fidelity prototype. To show the usage of the device by the user and the user interaction, we need, in a video format which would be like 2 minutes long, we needed to have a storyline which is interesting for the viewers, and which would also again focus on the interaction. So we came up with storyboarding idea, and the way we conducted storyboarding was we listed down two tasks which would be considered as technology saves a day, and two tasks wherein my user would be expert user using the interface. Storyboarding was mostly hand-drawn sketches, very quick sketches, and a little bit story about each sketch, and putting all them together would make a good story. By completing this much, I had 4 stories ready, which from which I was gonna pick only one story to go on with. Before creating my first video draft, I thought of going through Extraordinate Card, which gives me more details about the user.
This was
Left
a
portion
major
shows me the usual
step
user
up into my video
and
making
the top
process.
right shows me the
Now I had
casual.
to make an bottom
First draft
part
of my
shows
video,
the
which
areas
is
of
like
the
converting
user,
the
and the center
storyboard
one
sketches
shows the
into actual
details of the
sketches.
user. Think about the
Interacting with the
scenarios,
device.
think about the sounds and the narration,
And how would I represent the story? And I had to actually choose which are the important scenes which would connect the dots of my story, and etc. So to go through and to create the first draft, I had first and foremost thing was to translate my images. I traced some existing image into hand-drawn paper images. I um, laid out the interface and various story scenes on the notebook paper. And then I recorded voices and narration. I drafted a whole script using the Word document and then recorded voice using my phone. Um, After the draft was ready, it was time to get some feedback on it, and I had some forms provided by my professor to evaluate the video, and it gave me quality inputs, and using those inputs we had three major iterations to improve video to get the final video done. After each iteration, my video got just improved by one or the other sense. One of the iteration focused on the sound effects and voice recording. Another iteration focused on the image quality. One iteration majorly focused on improving the storyline, which would make more sense to an unknown user. Each iteration was improving the video quality and the story. So final draft was like a lot of improvements. My sketches got improved. I transitioned from hand-drawn sketches to sketches that were traced and created in Adobe Illustrator. I had quality sound effects, and I used some sound effects from the movies and some from online available repositories. I had to learn Adobe Premiere Pro to have special effects in my video, and this tool also helped me to show the interaction in details with some animation. And finally I was able to come up with a video which showed a good storyline as well as focused on the interaction. I hope you enjoy the video. And sorry, I don't have the video in here, but I have a link that you can go and visit the video. Thank you so much.